be together for 6 weeks, so right? Okay, so my name's Laura, I'll say that again, and I'm just grateful that you guys are here. I'm grateful that you're open to learning the foundations and the fundamentals of this beautiful practice, because it really, it's completely changed my life, and it changes so many others. And there's so many different parts of this practice. For this 6-week series, I kind of have a plan for each week, and I like to kind of let you know what we're going to be working on. And then of course there's a video that you can go back, there's Michelle, you can go back and look at it any time or revisit. I chose last week to talk about the yoga breath that is most commonly used in vinyasa practice. So vinyasa is, come on in, I literally just opened my mouth right now. You're good, come on. And so vinyasa and hatha yoga, let's just call it actually hatha yoga. Hatha yoga is all yoga. And it was the beginning of yoga was hatha. And the breathwork, the pranayama, which is a separate section in the 8 limbs of yoga. Pranayama has its own section, but we use it, it's intertwined with another section, which is asana. Asana is the practice, the moving practice of yoga is asana practice. And so pranayama and asana come together when you're in a practice like hatha yoga, okay? And like I said, hatha yoga is all yoga. Then you have all these other things that have come off. Power yoga, hot yoga, Bikram yoga. Even the founders, Ashtanga and Iyengar are like the founding fathers of kind of like the power and the restorative fathers. They still come from hatha yoga. All of it is from hatha. So that's really the foundation of that. We don't talk a lot about philosophy in here, but I like to give a little information. What I want this class to be is an introduction to some of the most common postures that you do in a yoga practice, because a lot of times people come to class and they either are intimidated because they feel like the class is going too fast, or they're not sure about their body. And the other thing that I see a lot is injuries that happen. People get injured a lot because either they come into the class and they're already injured and they try to do everything, right? And they just don't know how to modify. Even if a teacher is trying to explain, just like me, if you come to a power yoga class that I'm teaching, I will say, here's how you can do this, here's how you can do this, do that, but it still is done kind of, when I say it, it's not broken down and slow. I'm not breaking apart the pose so that you can really learn it. I'm just saying, here's how you can do this, this, and so you can't really get a good idea of how to do it. So that's kind of what I wanted this class to be, is go through some really common things, and we can, we'll see how it evolves. But last week we learned Ujjayi breathing, which is yogic breath. It's the breath through the nose. You guys remember doing that. And Deborah, have you done this type of breathing before?
Through the nose?
Yes. No, through the nose and out through the nose?
No.
So when you go back, I did send you the video just so that you can kind of go back to try it. You just, because there's a long explanation of how to do it. So that breath we'll utilize today in our vinyasa practice. And I know, but you have some yoga background, right? What's your name again? Okay, I want to call you Maria, but that's not it. Maria. Okay, now I will remember. Okay, Maria. So are you familiar with the Ujjayi breath through the nose? Inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. Okay, so I'll do it again because Carrie wasn't here either. And so we'll do a short, condensed version. And y'all need a little right? Or a little review anyway, right? And also really quickly, some yoga props that I like to just have. These, like I mentioned before, are bricks. They're the half size of this, and they're helpful sometimes. I like to have all size blocks, but you can get away with having one or the other, okay? So if you're like, which one do I get? I'm not sure. I'd probably get the larger size block because you can modify it to 3 different levels, and it probably is okay. But this is nice too. It's just different if you just don't want that height. And then this is a yoga bolster. We talked about this last week. This is mostly used for restorative poses, gentle yoga, yin yoga. It's just nice to have anyway. Like a yoga bolster is just a really nice thing to have because it's better than a pillow. And last week we talked about how to sit comfortably because a lot of us have a hard time just sitting comfortably. And another limb of yoga is meditation. And so you have to kind of learn to sit comfortably. So as a review, go back and watch some of that in the video too. Because there's lots of different ways, like my knees, I can sit on my heels and I can sit on the ground like this, but because I have a little arthritis in my hips already, and I'm early rheumatoid arthritis, and so I know that my joints and stuff, they don't like this as much as they used to. So I really prefer sitting up on a block.
That's good to know, yeah, because I can't sit like that without a block.
No, yeah, just my joints aren't really happy anymore doing that. I could kind of force it and just be, but why force it is the thing. Is let's just be in a place where we can sit and we can sit for some time, right? So that's the first part. So find a comfortable seat. So if your hips are really tight, then you want to sit on a block, or the other option is a folded up. This is just one of these blankets that you can get anywhere. They do call it a yoga blanket. You can get one on Amazon, but you can also get one at a gas station in Texas, I guess. So, because I've been at the Texaco up there and they have them like in there, and I was like, oh, well, here's where I'm gonna get a few yoga blankets, right? But they're nice, and there is a way to fold, and if you don't want quite so much of a lift, sitting on a little blanket is really helpful too. The most common seated position is Sukhasana, which is this. That doesn't work for everybody, right? The higher you elevate your hips, the higher you, there go my blocks. The higher you elevate your hips, the easier it will be for you to sit. You guys all have blocks, good. So whatever feels good to sit, okay? Yes, that looks good, Greg. Does that feel good? Yeah. Okay, so just find a comfortable seat. What you want to know or feel is that your knees are below your hips, or kind of. Do you have any injuries or anything, Maria? Injuries, like knees, hips, nothing? Back. I would even sit for you, if you can sit up a little bit higher. Is there a way for you to get there? Mm-hmm. Yes. How's that feel? Yeah, so that just kind of relieves the tightness in your hips a little bit. Probably feels better on your back too. Okay, so just kind of understanding that, just making those modifications, making those adjustments. It's not about being in pain, right? This practice, like, hopefully you don't feel like you're giving or creating any pain in your body. So let's just take a second. We'll just sit quietly together. Let your hands just rest on your knees, or they can rest in your lap. And then we'll do a simple review of that pranayama, that ujjayi breath. So not thinking about it too much, just listen to me as I explain this breath a little bit in detail. When we breathe this way, we breathe through the nose, and only the nose. The breath is taken through the nostrils, but it's as if you're pulling the breath in through your throat. When you exhale, it is done the same exact way. You're exhaling through the nose, but it's as if you're exhaling out your throat. So I like to give people a visual of inhale through the nose, but imagine like you're saying the word ha as you inhale without opening your mouth. So keeping the lips sealed. Inhale through your nose as if you're saying the word ha. And then exhale through your nose as if you're saying the word ha. So just like a but you're having your lips sealed. Now what you're probably noticing is that there's an audible quality to the breath. And I know some of you that were here or were not here last week are probably noticing that first, that you can hear that breath. That is on purpose, okay? That is an anchor for our practice. That is an anchor for your mind, okay? Oh. That was scary. I was like, something's flying in here. It's funny. All right, so that breath is an anchor for, my anchor didn't work, obviously. I was fully distracted. All right, so that's an anchor for your mind. So think about this, again, as you're inhaling through your nose, you're drawing the breath in through your throat. Inhaling through your nose, drawing the breath in through your throat, and then exhaling through your nose, exhaling through the throat, but it's actually through the nose. You've got it. And now I'm going to give you a little count, a little rhythm, okay? Inhale through your nose, and exhale through your nose. Give you that count now. Here we go. Let's breathe together. Exhale all the air out. And then together, inhale through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. One more together. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then just pause. Again, noticing that breath, the sound that you were making through your throat, how it helped you kind of anchor and be present to the breath. The inhalation in yoga is called the prana. The exhalation is the apana. It's the giving and receiving of light, the exchange of energy within your body. So as you inhale, you're actually receiving and bringing in light energy. As you're exhaling, you're releasing and letting go of energy that's been used, that you're complete with. So there's that cycle of refreshing, revolving energy that's continuous in your body. So go ahead and open your eyes. And then you'll notice also in that really brief meditation, by just bringing your awareness to your breath and just kind of thinking about it, it gives you that state of just peace and consciousness and awareness that we want. And so that in itself, just doing that a few minutes each day, concentrating on your breath or concentrating on the sound of your breath, can help just create a good foundation. I do a meditation every morning. There's lots of different ways to meditate, but this is one that yoga teaches us. So that's a beautiful way. So now we're going to use that breath to help us anchor in this practice. When you go to a vinyasa class, one thing you'll see is a lot of sun salutations, okay? Do you guys know what they are? Yeah? Carrie's like, yes, I do. And then Paisley, I've never done one with you, so yeah, you probably haven't, but Michelle's been taking my classes, and y'all have some experience, a little bit of experience, right? Yes. And then Deborah, have you done it before? Okay, well let's start from the beginning. So we did one pose last week that we'll see in our sun salutation today, but there's a couple other things that we'll see as well, okay? It's starting, we're gonna start standing up, but let's get there just working it out for a second. So come onto your hands and knees, because we've been sitting for, about 10 minutes or so. So come onto your hands and knees and just start to move your spine. And let's go ahead and add some breath, shall we? So as you inhale, let's find a little back bend. So pull your shoulders away from your ears. Start to hollow your armpits as you draw your heart through your upper arm bones. And you find a little back bend here. And then as you exhale, take your tailbone down towards the earth. So you're gonna take your pelvis down, tailbone down, and start to push the floor away and protract the scapula. So that just means move the shoulder blades apart from each other. Let your head drop and the neck stretch here. You're arching your back. I like to say like a Halloween cat. We're coming towards Halloween. So think about those scary cats, the hair on the back just going right up towards the ceiling. And then reverse that again. As you inhale, pull the shoulders away from the ears. You could feel like there's a little hollowing in the armpit here as you lift your heart and maybe even start to look up. That's the full extension of the spine. And then exhale as you press the floor away and round. Good. And I'm just gonna walk around and make sure everyone is doing this correctly. So keep going on your own. As you inhale, you're arching your back, and here's something that you can do as well if your knees are sensitive and kneeling is ever painful for you. You can roll up the back edge of your mats to create more of a cushion for your knees, or another reason to get a blanket, right? Anytime you've got knee or joint issues, I almost never kneel on my joints anymore, on my knees anymore. I'm just always using a blanket, just that little extra pressure. There are really fancy, by the way, knee pads, yoga knee pads that you can buy. I think they're actually like called yoga knee pads. And you slide them on your mat, and you can, they're gel, they're lovely. You can absolutely get those. I believe they have them at Marshall's, if you care to check that place out. But that's a really nice modification for the knees. Why don't we do about 3 or 4 more? I'm gonna walk around. Yeah, and just start to feel where your body's at. You always wanna come from a place of love for yourself. See if you're energetically pulling your shoulders down a little bit, and then see if you can lift your heart. Can I touch you back on the side? Up towards the sky. You're just a little restless. And then up, and then exhale. Pull your belly to your spine. You can add a little bit of abdominal effort as you press the floor away and stretch out straight. Good. Just keep moving. I don't hear anyone breathing. Let's get some breath here. So keep breathing in through your nose. Exhale through your nose, trying to find that ujjayi breathing. Good. Think of pulling your armpits back a little bit. So there's a little hollow there. Nice. And go back into your extension. Notice your inhale. Broadening across the chest. And this will be a present, like a beginning for your cobra. You guys remember doing cobra last week, right? Yeah, so your body, one thing to think about is your body is so smart, right? It's so intelligent. If you naturally hold tension in your shoulders, when you're doing yoga, do you think you're going to stop doing that? Most likely your shoulders will probably actually continue to get tight, because that's what they do. Stress is there, right? Okay, let's move on. So this is just an easy cat-cow, and it's something that you can do at any time. Drop onto the mat, link your breath with your movement. In yoga, we call the seven energy centers, we call them chakras, and this is a perfect one to just start moving that energy up and down your spine, okay? Let's go ahead and come to a standing position right at the top of your mat. So if you just stand up, it's got kind of a little, not really flowy, but that's okay. You don't have to flow in this class. I'm gonna adjust that so they can see me. Okay, so we're gonna talk about mountain pose, which is the most, I think, I don't know, we're just at mountain a lot. There's a lot going on in mountain pose. Usually the beginning of a sun salute, sun salutation A, which is what we're gonna cover today, you'll stand at the very top of your mat. Something to keep in mind is that there are practitioners that treat this practice, especially the sun salutations, as a form of prayer. So it's embodied prayer. And you can do that as well. Like if there's, anything that's going on in your life or anything that you want to just kind of hand over to your higher power, you can absolutely, as you start to flow and it becomes more fluid and in you, it's like a release, and it can be a moving prayer. So mountain pose is the very first part of this. And so you're going to stand with your feet about hip-width distance apart and just let your arms come to your side. And then I just want you to notice just where your weight is distributed. Look down at your feet too, and you can tell if you're kind of standing like this, or one foot's like this, or maybe you're like this. And try to actually stand so that the feet are truly parallel to each other. So we're going to try to create symmetry between the right and the left sides, right? And so you give that, even if it feels a little weird, all right? So you try to, yes, you guys look great. You can put a little bend in your knees, especially if you have knee issues. Otherwise, you're going to lift the arches of your feet and start to connect to your thighs, like in a way that it feels like you're pulling the energy up from the earth through your feet. You guys feel that? So it's like your feet are actively working to pull up. It's not just pulling up though, it's also rooting down, right? So your arms are just at your side at this point. You're gonna just adjust your pelvis slightly. Depending on your individual posture, you'll kind of stand the way you stand, right? But in mountain pose, we want the tailbone to be slightly tilted down, not tucked under, but just pointing downward, just a little bit downward. And then think about the center of your chest. So I'm wearing this pendant. The center of the chest, imagine like you're wearing a pendant. And then with your tailbone pointed down, lift that pendant up. So the pendant lifts up as the tailbone goes down. And what you'll feel, most likely, is some length in the spine, and also your abdominal muscles start to engage a little, right? Like, oh, there's my core. It's turning on. At the same time, you're relaxing your shoulders. Shoulders are relaxed. And you're pulling your scapula down as your palms face forward. So you're standing very still, but do you feel everything that's going on? There's a lot of work here. You should feel the ground, you should feel your feet, you should feel your core, you should feel a lot of length and space. And this is this very beginning of this salutation, and it's where the prayer is set. It's where the request is asked. It's where the intention is set. So close your eyes, take a moment with your palms open, with that energy moving in and out and throughout you. Set an intention for your practice. So your intention is your why. Why are you here? What are you here to learn? Maybe it is a prayer. Maybe it's something, a call that you need to be answered. And that's a personal thing you set for yourself. And then you bring your hands to your heart center. When your palms come together like this, again, this is the very symbolism of prayer, isn't it? And so when we do this, it's called samastitihi, and it means come back to center. Come back to center. So the intention is set at samastitihi, and it's always come back to center. It's always come back. Anytime the teacher says samastitihi, hands back to prayer, it's a reminder for you to go, oh, that's my intent. What's my intention? What was my intention again? What was my intention again? You just repeat it because we forget. We just keep forgetting why we're here, right? Because we start thinking about dinner and homework and jobs and all sorts of things, right? So this is a call to action, to effort, and it's a prayer for you. And then the next part is you start to breathe and move. So on your next inhale breath, you release your hands take your arms all the way up, and you draw a big circle, and this is the circle of the sun, right? You're gonna look up, and this is called extended mountain pose. Now, it's the same as this mountain pose here, but now you're stretching up towards the sky, okay? It's important here not to elevate the shoulder blades, right? We talked about this last week, and tighten the neck here, but instead, keep the shoulder blades drawn down, the ribs knit, the heart lifted, the tailbone down. So the arms go up, but it doesn't mean you go up, right? Arms go up, you root down. Take one more breath in, maybe you do a little back bend, and then as you exhale, you bring your hands back to prayer. You can bend your knees. Actually, I would recommend everybody bending the knees. And then you go into your forward fold. Here's where those two blocks or bricks come in handy, especially if your hamstrings are tight. You're gonna be walking around with these bricks. You're just gonna make friends with them, okay? Especially if your hamstrings are tight. These blocks stay to the outsides of your mat and your hands come right on top of them. Knees are bent. So you can slide them back towards your feet, or you can keep them just ahead of your feet. Take a breath in here, keeping your hands on those blocks or bricks, and then as you exhale, keeping your knees bent, fold forward. Now as you fold forward, this is called Uttanasana. Uttanasana, forward fold. Your head drops and you're looking actually basically up towards your belly button, but if that bothers your neck, you can absolutely just let your head hang and you can gaze right between those shin bones. Got it? You don't need to look up at your belly button, okay? Head between the shin bones, so you're definitely not looking forward. Let's just take a couple breaths here. Inhale through your nose. See how different it is to breathe upside down. Exhale. Right? See how different it is because mostly your belly's on your thighs, right? And it's giving you a different place to breathe. So where are you going to breathe? You want to start to explore the back of the body here. So as you inhale, start to take the breath in and send it to the back of your body. Explore opening up your back with your breath, stretching it even. As you exhale, there's a little surrender. Maybe you drop something. Just take one more breath here together. Inhale through your nose again. Send that breath into the back of your body. Exhale, let it go. Moving on. Halfway lift is the next part of our sun salutation. You're going to start by lifting your head first. As your head starts to move forward, I want you to imagine there's a little marble at the tip of your nose. Keep your knees bent as they are, but knock that little marble away, and then continue lifting your head as if the momentum were to carry you through to an upward position without removing your hands from those blocks. So your hands do not leave those blocks, but you start to lift your head and your neck and your chest. You're back in that cat-cow. Can you guys feel it? This is just what you did on your knees. Take a breath here as you draw your shoulders away from your ears, your heart forward. Maybe you gaze up. And then again, forward fold. You can bend your knees a lot here as you fold forward and you round your spine and maybe forehead to or maybe eyes gaze at your belly. Okay. Then on your next inhale breath, you do another halfway lift. You start to lift your head, neck, shoulders, heart, up you go. And then this time on your exhale, you're going to step your feet back and come down onto your knees. And then remove the blocks away. And here again, you can use the blanket underneath your knees if your knees are sensitive. We're going to hold this mid version of modified high push-up position or modified plank pose, because in a sun salutation, there's a moment where you lower to the ground, okay? I'm going to teach you the most basic version today, and it's called knees, chest, chin, or Ashtanga Namaskar, all right? So as you bend your elbows to lower to the ground, first of all, you want to find your sort of modified plank position. How do you know you're in modified plank? Well, you're not in tabletop anymore, okay? It doesn't feel like tabletop, like you were in when you were doing your cat and cow, okay? Your wrists are your wrists are underneath your shoulders, and you're still letting your tailbone drop, and you're still lifting that pendant a little bit. You're definitely not in a back bend, okay? So if you feel like you're in a back bend, like there's a crease in your lower back, you've gone too far too. It should feel like a plank. You guys feel that? It feels like a plank. Then you're gonna look a few inches ahead of your mat, and you're gonna take your arm bones, bend your elbows out wide like this. If you need a break, you could always take a break, because I know we've been here for like 3 minutes. So from here, do we need a break? Go ahead and come back for a second. Roll out your wrists. Okay, I tend to talk a lot, but this is important. Okay, so watch this first, then you do it. Don't do it with me. So you're in your plank. The way to get the arm placement right is the external rotation of the upper arm bone to lower, okay? What that means is that you're not gonna go like this to lower, but in fact, your elbows are gonna point back towards the back of your body so that when you lower, your biceps really graze your rib cage, and you don't allow your shoulders to come before your elbows. That's really important because that'll damage your shoulders. You're putting all that weight down, right, into your shoulder joints. You want to lower so that your shoulders and your elbows are in the same plane, okay? So here's what it'll look like. So first you just find that activation in your upper arms and in your lats and your serratus. You find your plank. You bend your elbows out 1/2 inch, and then watch what I do. I swivel my elbows back. Did you see that? I swivel my elbows back. My fingers are spread wide. I'm pressing into my thumb and my index finger. My neck is nice and long, tailbone is dropped. And I begin to lower down in one movement. I lower myself all the way to the ground. See? Yeah, if you do it right, it's not, and then you push right back up. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, eventually, right? We get stronger and we can do this. So let me see how you do it. Go ahead and come up again. This is a really, really tricky thing to learn. Let's see it. Do a little elbow out. Let me see the swivel.
Do I have a plank right to start?
Your plank looks pretty good, yeah.
Okay.
Only, I mean, this looks great, but I would just see if you can draw this in a little bit, and then take your tailbone down. Yes, good. You feel that?
Yes.
There you go.
And
Now, do the little swivel for me. Elbows
In or
out, and then, so go a little bend out, and then swivel them back. Yes. And then you feel this? Okay. Okay, and then you start to lower.
that's
Yes.
where I don't feel like I can lower, I can more like drop.
That's where we just work
okay?
together. Ah, that was really good. So I know what you mean. That's, it feels like you're gonna drop because we just haven't created and built this great strength.
Because I don't have a core. Yes, that's right.
You have a core. We all have a core. We just need to communicate with it better and more often.
Okay.
Yes. Okay? And practice makes perfect, right? So here we go. Let's try it again. Just as you're lowering, a good way to practice this to build the strength, by the way, is if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't make it all the way down to the ground safely, right? You're like, I'm collapsing. Put a block here underneath your chest. And as you lower, that way, as you lower, you don't have, or how about this? 2 blocks, right? As you lower, right? You don't have to go as far. Put a block or 2 under your chest. And this is a great way to build strength as well. It's just from this block, come right back up. And you'll actually be in the right place for this particular movement, it's actually a transition. The transition you're doing is Chaturanga Dandasana, and that's the fancy word. That's the fancy word. So 1 or 2 blocks. Yeah, and just make sure that, I'm gonna come over and watch you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm planking.
Spread your fingers out wide. And then lean forward a little bit and draw your ribs in. You're doing great. Shoulders down. Good. Swivel them down. Belly in. Okay. And just start to bend those elbows back and then swivel them around. Yes. And now start to bend them straight back as you lower. Yes, Paisley. Yes. Do you feel that? Triceps and lats. The idea is that you're not in your neck, y'all. Yes. You know what I mean? You don't want to be here up in your neck, which is that's what, yes, you look good. Very good. Elbows in, I'll be right there. That's pretty good. This looks a little tight. Yeah, yeah. So just So that's the true test, right? Can you maintain the integrity and push right back up?
No.
By the way, you do this every day, you will get stronger. I promise you will get stronger. It'll go and you'll get stronger fast. You just have to do it right. It's when you do it incorrectly, then you get injured. Yeah, so you can stretch out your wrists. Uh-huh. The modification is just a lot of language. Ashtanga Namaskar is the modification. But that takes you down to our next pose, which we did last week, which is Cobra. So let's revisit our Cobra, yeah? So we'll keep practicing. You ready? We have lowered to the ground. There we are. Okay. So elbows in, we lower. Good. And so we're in our position for our Cobra. Last week we practiced engaging those muscles. Do you remember what we did? So just lift your arms for a second and just squeeze like you're pulling them back. That's what I need you to really feel in your back muscles. Then place your hands down, and as you inhale, point your toes, press your feet into the floor, lift your head, your shoulders, your neck away from the floor. You don't have to go very high, you're in a back bend. If your lower back is sensitive, you're probably not going to go much further than this. This is fine. You can also separate your feet. We don't want to create tension in the neck, right? So keep energy going back and down. Pubic bone is down. And then your belly, it's like you're allergic to the mat, y'all. Pull up. Look at the difference. You want to see my belly? Watch what happens. This, right? Or this. Do you see the difference? See the difference?
No.
Okay, so we want up with the belly. Allergic to the mat. Elbows in, Greg. There we go. Yeah, good. Are we good? Come down. Okay, take a second rest. Let your arms come to your side and just turn your head to one side. Move your hips from side to side. Let's do it again. So Cobra, I call that kind of level 1 Cobra, okay? If you don't want to do Cobra, say remember we did this last week? If you don't want to do Cobra, say your wrists are really sensitive or you have tennis elbow or shoulder issues, then you do Sphinx. Sphinx just on the forearms. So if you're in a class and you're like, I can't do Cobra, you do Sphinx. This is still a back bend. It's still very active, right? Do you feel it? Keep pulling your elbows back and letting your heart just come through, and you'll get a lot of the same benefits, okay? If you want another variation where you're like, no, that still hurts my elbows, then you can actually just reach your arms back and lift up this way. This is probably even harder. This is called Shalabhasana, which is another Hatha Yoga pose. You want to try it? Let's do it quick, and then we'll go back to one more thing. And then come all the way down, and then why don't you go ahead and rest for a second? Just turn your head to the other side and rest. So the hardest, well, it's not the hardest pose. I really think that the transition is the hardest part of the whole sun salutation, right? That lowering. But the last part is called downward facing dog.
That's the hardest.
It's the one where everybody gets hurted, that's for sure. That one and that one, okay. Go ahead and come back to your hands and knees. even in downward facing dog, you're still gonna give me a little bend and a little swivel, okay? Just remember that. So here's the traditional way that I would do downward facing dog. My hands would come out in front. My fingers are really spread. I'm gonna show you lots of ways to modify too, you guys. Elbows bend a little bit, right? I swivel and pull back so that these muscles here are engaged. Then I curl my toes under, I lift my knees away from the floor, and then I just start to move my pelvis back in space. My hamstrings are tight, so I'm gonna keep my knees bent, okay? So it's okay to keep your knees bent, but you wanna press the floor away without going up into your neck and shoulders, right? So again, that little swivel is important to keep broadening across your chest. Okay, so this is not all. I want my sit bones to be pulled back, like, you know the Lorax? That's all I think about. I don't know why I think about the Lorax. Do you remember how he got flown away by the seat of his pants? Like, that's my envision here. It's like someone just like whoop, pulling my sit bones up and back, away and high. And then maybe if I can get my spine straight and my head in alignment with my arms and my hands pressing, then I can maybe try to start to descend my heels. Okay, so that's the last part. Now, there's one part that's really hidden that a lot of people miss, and that's the rib cage placement, okay? So with this positioning, you also don't want to dump out your belly and let your ribs spread. You take a breath, you see my rib cage? You actually want to have some support back here. So you exhale your ribs back so that there's support across your upper back, okay? Here's what that looks like without my hand there, okay? So I'm here, I'm a little dumpy right now. This is dumpy, ready? You see the difference? Not dumpy. Dumpy. Not dumpy. Okay, so one of them, I'm just sitting in my joints basically, and just in a pose where I'm like leaning into my joints, which you'll get away with, but not for a long time. The other one, you're connecting to your core. And when you connect to your core like that, it makes the whole pose lighter and more supported. And you could probably stay there for, yeah, Deborah, that looks good. Okay, so let's do this really quick together before we go into down dog. Let's talk about the rib cage. So, all you're gonna do is really simple. I feel like today's class is like 5 classes in one, but that's okay. You guys still with me? Okay. All right, so sit comfy, any way that's comfy. Please be comfortable. You can sit on your bottom extent. But take your hands to your ribs and like feel them out. Poke yourself so that you can feel where they are, right? And then you'll take your hands and place one hand on one rib cage and then the other hand on the other rib cage. And you can feel that there, right? And let your hands like really hold them. Yeah. And then all I want you to do is breathe into your hands. So take a breath in through your nose and breathe into your hands. You feel them spread, and then exhale out your mouth. And then just like feel what happens when you exhale. Okay, so you're just building awareness where your ribs are. If you do Pilates, then maybe this is easier for you. Does anyone do Pilates in here? Yeah, so this is lateral breath, rib cage breath. So inhale into your hands, you spread the ribs. Exhale out your mouth as the ribs come in. And then you're gonna actually start to facilitate it a little bit. Inhale through your nose, feel your ribs spread. Now as you exhale, you can exhale out your mouth, just draw the ribs in with your hands and feel that. Yes, Michelle. Do you feel that? How your ribs come in towards each other? Yes, yes, yes. And you're like, okay, do it again. Open it up, inhale. And then exhale out your mouth, just go. And then feel yourself just pulling them in and down. Okay, you guys got that, right? So that's the effort in down dog. All right, let's go. We got this. And then we'll put it all together, and then we'll keep flowing that, but not today, because we'll run out of time. So here we go. Hands down, let's find our down dog. You start with the hand placement, I want everyone to spread their fingers out as wide as possible, like enough where you could fit a quarter between each finger, okay? So think of each finger spreading out as wide as possible. And then bend your elbows out to the side. You okay?
Yeah, I just saw.
You got what?
Stiffened up.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Elbows bend out to the side a little bit. And then you're gonna rotate your upper arm bones. You do that little revolution. And then curl your toes under, and you should feel your upper back muscles engage. Lift your knees. Start to move your pelvis back. Let your head come down. And you're finding that placement with your upper back. And then you start to play around with the ribs, okay? So your head drops. Don't look at me. Just let your head hang. Take a breath in. Exhale. You can exhale out your mouth here. As you exhale, draw your rib cage in and up. And you will feel a strong support around your upper back, which we call the shoulder girdle, okay? And that's what we really need in down dog, but you also need it in your descents. You need it in your cobras. You need it in your chaturangas. We all need this upper core. Remember when I put my hand on your belly? This is what I was talking about. This part has to be pulled in. If it works for you to start to straighten your legs, you can straighten your legs, but you don't need to. It's not necessary. Just take maybe 1 or 2 more breaths here, and we'll do a few of these linking everything together. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your nose. Yeah, you look good. 1 more. Well done. Now look towards your hands and just start to walk your hands forward towards the front of your mat. Good. Inhale. Do you have your blocks? Find a halfway lift. Find that halfway lift. Walk towards the front of your mat. Walk towards the front of your mat. The front of your mat. There we go. Find that halfway lift as you inhale. And then exhale, fold all the way down. All right, and then if a lot of people have lower back issues, I always like to say that if you have lower back issues, then you're gonna hold your hips here, kind of catch them. If you don't have any issues, you could actually circle your arms in a reverse swan dive to come up. So your choice, but you come up with your head first, your neck, your shoulders, your heart leads the way, your core is toned, and you come all the way up with a reverse swan dive, looking all the way up, your palms come to touch, and then they come right towards your heart, Samasthiti, back to the center. Okay? So can we go from the top? Good, Medea, face the front of your mat. There we go. All right, so from the top, here we go. Inhale through your nose, sweep your arms up towards the sky. This is extended mountain pose. Exhale, hands through the heart center, forward fold. You can bend your knees as you fold forward and your head tucks in. Maybe you look at your belly. Inhale, find a halfway lift. Your hands are on your blocks as you draw your shoulders away from your ears and you look ahead. Exhale, you can move your blocks, plant your hands, and just step back. Put your knees on the ground. Okay, here we go. Take a breath in your high push-up or plank position on your knees. And then as you exhale, begin to bend your elbows and lower all the way down to the ground. Untuck your toes. Inhale, cobra pose. Lift your head, neck, and shoulders. Your design. You're the authority. And then exhale, come right back down. Here's the hard part. Press yourself back up to all fours. Curl your toes under. And we go back downward facing dog. So you find that transition as carefully as you can with a lot of integrity throughout the whole thing, okay? You can pause, you can breathe, you can do whatever you need to do, you can skip whatever you need to skip. If you have any shoulder, neck, or wrist issues and that's bothering you, you don't even have to do it. You can just go straight from halfway lift to down dog. Take 1 more breath in here. Inhale through your nose, ribs are knit, belly drawn in. Exhale to look forward, step all the way to the front of your mat where your hands are. Good. Inhale, halfway lift, a full breath in. Exhale, forward fold, chin to chest, you look towards your belly. Inhale, come up with a flat back. So again, catch your hips if you have issues. Otherwise, reverse swan dive. Use your glutes and your core. Reach, touch the sky. And then hands to heart center, Samasthiti, exhale. Okay? All right, you guys are gonna do it. I'm gonna watch you. Ready?
Uh-oh.
Here we go. One more, okay?
Watch the video.
Hands to heart center. Inhale, breath, sweep your arms to the sky, looking all the way up, extended mountain pose. And yeah, look up at your hands, right? This is your prayer. Palms come together as you exhale, and you bend your knees and you fold forward. All the way fold forward. So chin to the chest, gaze towards your belly button. Yes, there you go. And then inhale, halfway lift, hands to the blocks, lift your head, neck, and shoulders, draw your shoulders away from your ears. Yes, Carrie, good, Paisley. That's it, nice knees bent, everyone looks great. Medea, heart forward a little bit. Think of a little back bend in this one, Medea. Like a little back bend, not a round back, more of like an arched back, in the opposite direction back bend. You guys stay. And then exhale, you'll step back, you can remove those blocks. And here's our transition. Hands come to the floor, you lower to your knees, you find your high push-up position. Spread your fingers out wide. Your ribs are knit, your core is engaged. Take a breath. Exhale out your nose as you lower. Chaturanga, elbows in. I know, it's hard. And then toes down, toenails down, Deborah, the other way, toenails down. Yeah. And cobra pose now as you inhale, lift. Nice, Medea, good. That's it, Charles. Good. And shoulders down more, even more. Yes. And then exhale, come right back down. Good. Slowly press to all fours. So you're going to press into your hands and lift yourself back up to your hands and knees. And then downward facing dog. Let's see them. Spread those fingers out nice and wide. Good. Paisley, less of a plank, more of a V. So walk your feet in a little bit more. Put a bend in your knees and move your booty back. Yeah. There you go. And relax your head. That's it. Nice. And toot. Got it. And then you're working this. Remember, inhale through your nose. And then exhale. Good. Yeah. It's building a lot of strength. You feel it? You might try straightening your legs. You might try. Okay. She's like, no. That's okay. That's good. Just staying less in your neck and shoulders. So you put a micro bend in your elbows to do that. Little bend. Yep. Little bend, a little wrap. Relax your head. That's it. That's it. Good. I know it's a lot. You're doing great. Getting some shakies, huh? Exhale. Yeah, good breathing. We're all done. Okay, so that's our sun salutation A. I know, it can be a lot of work. I want to show you really quickly one modification for downward facing dog. You can use blocks.
Where should your weight be when you're in the down?
Back, and your core. It's like something's pulling you up by your pelvis.
So between the ground and you got your hands and your feet.
You're pressing, and it's like both the upper body and the lower body are working equally to bring the energy up, right? So I am using a lot of my upper body strength to kind of send my hips back, but you want as much weight back as possible. And I didn't really cue this that much, but then I'll cue it like more in the following weeks. There's more integrity involved. You've got to engage your quadriceps and your inner thighs, okay, when you do that as well. So there's a lot of this going back. And so that'll actually help probably you feel that weight going back. I just don't cue that at first because a lot of people have really tight hamstrings and they can't even straighten their legs. So just knowing that, like, if you are really tight in your hamstrings, you can do it still. The other modification is that you do the exercise on a couple blocks. So your hands would be here on 2 blocks instead of the floor. And what that does is, wow, now I have so much more space right now. It just makes the whole pose like I'm flying. Yeah, you'll like that, Michelle, a lot. Yeah, once you get up there, you'll be like, wait a second. It's just like, doesn't feel like anything once you do down dog, putting your, because, what? Yeah. Yeah, releasing the traps. Do you like that, Paisley? Yeah. Relax your head. Yeah.
I'll work with you, I'll watch somebody else.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect, right? So that, she just said something that's really important. Release the traps, that's your upper back muscles, and engage the lats, okay? The lats are like the muscle, the big, huge back muscle. So the more the lats, yeah, but drop your head now. There you go. And separate your feet a little wider. Good, and then put a little tiny bend in your knees, and push the blocks away so your butt goes up and back more. You might experiment with making your pose a little shorter too. Are you okay? All right, you guys, time to rest. Okay, so just find a comfortable resting pose, okay? Whatever it is, lie in your back, take a twist if you want to. If you want to sit down, you can sit down, but definitely it's time to wrap it up and end class. So I want to just let you guys rest for a second. Make sure you feel comfortable as you find your comfortable place. You can do child's pose. Yeah, you can do child's pose. You can do Shavasana. You've got a couple blocks there, so if you wanted to use your blocks and place them under your knees or anything like that, just to completely release. Let's just take a minute or so here, okay? Once you're lying flat, this is the most important pose that you'll do in your practice. I tell all of my students that ending the class without Shavasana, even like a workshop style class, like this is a real workshop class where it's not a big flow, we really stop and we think about things and we talk. But even a class like this, it's so important to do the Shavasana. It's like writing a story or writing a really awesome book and then like forgetting to hit save on your computer. Can you imagine how awful that would feel? So you're like missing the download, right? You're missing the download. So just take a couple minutes here, maybe even a few big breaths, inhaling through your nose and exhaling out your mouth. feel ready, you can bend your knees in towards your chest, one at a time. And maybe rock over to one side. And gently press yourself up to a comfortable seat. So bring your hands to, again, Anjali Mudra at your heart center. We always close our practice in gratitude. So we'll take this moment to just fill our hearts, our minds, our souls with gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're so grateful for each other, for this space to practice in. We're grateful for the practice of yoga that meets us right where we need to be each time we come to our mats. And we ask that each benefit we experience through this practice stay with us. Can we stay connected to our breath? Can we stay connected to our body? Most importantly, can we stay connected to spirit? Take a full breath in through your nose. And a big exhale out your mouth. Let it go. Bow your chin into your chest and open up your eyes. Thank you guys so much. Namaste. All right. Well, have a beautiful Wednesday night, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It looks like we did not get the rain, but maybe we will. I'm not sure. It's like something's happening.
And they had, I